Hello, Marina. We're back again. Hello, everyone. We're back for the Nostr Asia Hackathon. We've got an amazing presentation for you now with the amazing Pablo. Um, in this hackathon, we have already 28 projects submitted. Have you seen them, Marina?
I've been going through them. Yes, it's really exciting to see that not all of them are Twitter clones. So that's amazing to start with.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Any favorites so far, or are we keeping that secret for now?
Really.
Keeping it secret. Okay. You want to talk a little bit about the presentation that we're going to be having today?
So more than anything, I'm really excited to have Pablo with us. He is one of the most prolific Nostr contributors, and he's been going crazy building. And also, I love he speaks Spanish, so I'm very excited to have him and host him, and really thank him for being here to kind of walk us through what he has been building, why he has been building it, and what are the opportunities that lay ahead for people who want to contribute to Nostr, and like where they can go to figure out what to build. And I also wanted to ask him, what does it mean to be a NIP26 apologist, among other things?
I guess we'll find out about that soon. Let's bring him up on stage, and I guess let's introduction actually with him, and then we'll get into the presentation. Hey there, Pablo.
Hey guys, very nice to be here with you.
Yeah. For those of the people who might not be familiar with your, I don't know, like tons of projects, is it difficult for even me to keep up with it? One of my favorite ones is NSEC Bunker, by the way. But for people who aren't so familiar, could you give a little background on who you are, what you do, and like how did you become such a energetic builder?
Yeah, I mean, I built a lot of different Nostr things. NDK is the Nostr Development Kit is one of the ones that is most popular, especially among developers, of course. I built Sublife, Highlighter, Shipyard recently. What else? Kind of 3.xyz. Yeah, I built a bunch of different things, and I don't know how I became so energetic about Nostr. I don't know. I started using Nostr like for real in November last year, and I started just became obsessed with how easy it is to build things that solve what usually are very complex programming problems. Interprocess communication is the one that outstunned me the most, because usually to get processes to synchronize and communicate among each other, it's a really hard technical problem. Actually, as a kid, my favorite book was a book on Unix intercommunication processes, interprocess communication, and when I made like my first thing I made for Nostr was just a thing to change your kind zero, your profile data. And when I noticed that I would use this thing that I built in 10 minutes and it would change the content in Damos automatically, that shocked me. And yeah, I've been falling in love with the simplicity, the approach, like a bit of the ethos there is around Nostr development and the design of the protocol, how simple it is. It's like the least pretentious protocol I've ever encountered, to a fault, I would say. But yeah, I don't know. It's just I see so many possibilities, so many different things that can be built. I don't know. It's a very compelling architecture.
It is. I think I kind of had that like crazy aha moment as well when we implemented our commenting system using Nostr. Like this was when this was before the Jack Dorsey stuff. This is when people were still looking at it as like, let's make a Twitter clone. And do you remember Discuss? Discuss the
Discuss, yes, of course.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was our goal, to actually create a component that we could jump in. So we tried it with our site first, Bold Fun, and yeah, it was like super cool because like they're writing stuff on Bolt Fun and then they're showing up on this other platform, and it's like, what? We made a few decisions though. We did custodial Nostr, which is some people were a bit against, because it's like, well, custodial Nostr, it's not really Nostr, not your keys, not your noose. But for our community and stuff, there's so many hurdles. Albi didn't have it integrated as yet. Yeah, this is like July last year. Albi didn't have it integrated and stuff. So we're like, how do we make it like easy for people just completely outside of Bitcoin and Nostr and completely outside that
100%.
ecosystem to be able to play with it? So there's balances that you have to do there, right? But anyway, all right. Well, how about we get into that presentation now, shall we?
Absolutely. I'm going to just comment on what you just said. I think the custodial Nostr is. I think we should not be so afraid or not so dogmatic on our approach. I think there's different flavors for many different things, and custodial is it's a problem. Custodial, especially custodial Bitcoin, it's a much bigger problem. Custodial Nostr is okay. You personally are going to get rugged. Custodial Bitcoin can be much more problematic in a way. There's some nuance to that, but I don't think like CBD has been hated on because of the custodial stuff, and there is there is a point to it, but we should not be so it's gotta be in this one way that I am comfortable doing it with. I don't know. There is some nuance, at least until we get key rotation and stuff like that, which is going to open up, which is the stuff that I'm working on at the moment.
Oh wow!
So that's why I mentioned that.
Rotation.
Yeah, because so we had a talk with a few developers, like. NVK reminds me it was 27 days ago, and after the after the conversation we said, okay, let's do this approach. This approach is very simple, like to a fault. So how simple it is. Most people, like the DID people and the /tax people and the blue sky people, they are all going to hate it. They're all going to say that we're retards. So it's perfect.
Well, that's the beauty of Nostr,
Nostr is
right?
very much a protocol for the rest of us,
Yeah, exactly. Hey, just write up a nip and put it out in the world.
I wrote it. So yesterday I was walking my my baby on a like backpack, and I was writing the nib on my phone as I was writing it.
You see, you can't do that with DIDs. I guarantee you can't do that with DIDs.
No, there is no way. To write a DID, you have to lock yourself in a cave for 6 years. Maybe you'll make progress. Probably not. Probably will go nowhere. But
exactly.
Well, is that why Nostr's gonna win?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. 100%. The simplicity and actually building things.
Yep.
Absolute momentum. It's so important. The best protocol doesn't win. The protocol that implements things is the one that wins. It's not the best design and the most genius design. That part is irrelevant. I mean, we see it in all the protocols. SMTP is still used to this day, and SMTP sucks. And there are so many cases where this TFTP is still in use to this day, and TFTP is horrendous. But yeah, momentum.
Yes.
We're there with you.
All right, let's get into it now then, shall we?
All right. Can you guys see my screen?
We see the screen.
Yet.
Get the there we go, and it is up.
Okay.
Wait,
all right. So
We just
Okay,
have
now
to
it's
switch it. There we go.
Yep.
Yeah, all good.
Mhm.
Okay, cool.
I don't see it.
Okay, so you don't see it?
No, wait.
It says that I'm sharing my screen.
Okay,
And
it's still empty there. So let's
how
see.
about there?
Can we see? Okay, it's on. Johns, can you see it? The presentation? There we go. We can see it.
Yeah?
Yep, it's on.
All good?
Ready.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Okay, so it's going to be a short presentation. But I was thinking, okay, the topic that we were going to discuss today is how to contribute to Nostr. And to me, because I've heard this from many people, especially by something said by non-developers, how do I contribute to Nostr? And I know that most people that are going to be watching these are developers, but I think the most important part, okay, let's go presentation mode. Okay, is you. Just you with your energy and your attention and your time. Just bringing your ideas to Nostr and being present in Nostr is a bit of the life force of Nostr. So I think just you spending your time in Nostr is absolutely fundamental. I remember I checked out Nostr. What was it? I think it was May last year, and it was basically a ghost town, and it's great. The protocol was the same as it is. I mean, roughly the same protocol as it is now. But the fact that there was no energy meant that the feel of Nostr was completely different. So the main thing that you can contribute to Nostr is you. With that out of the way, is given that most of the people that are going to be watching these are developers, there are a bunch of different considerations that I think we need to have on how we can contribute to Nostr and make Nostr grow. I think the first part, and maybe it's not the first part, it's just one part, but the way I think it is in no particular order, is what we build is crucial. Just finding the right thing to build. I went through the projects that are part of the hackathon. Like you said before, I was very very happy not to see just out of 28 projects 14 projects just rebuilding Twitter or rebuilding whatever Reddit or something like that. So the what we build is a bit of what Jack Dorsey said when he said this, running from versus running towards. To me that struck a chord very, very much, because even before Nostr, I hadn't been too interested in Twitter, and I had actually been thinking about deleting my Twitter account for like 2 years, probably more than that actually. But to me, the stuff that the running towards is brutally more interesting. The way I see it running from, because I was talking with Fiat Chef, and he had a different understanding of what running from and running towards meant. So the way I define running from, is just rebuilding the functionality of the old internet, just rebuilding the same stuff that existed before Nostr. Just use Nostr, which is interesting. I think there is a lot of merit to rebuilding this stuff, but the way I see it is we are playing with these behemoths, with these huge, massive billion-dollar companies. We're playing at their own game. So there is no way we can win that game, because we're playing on their turf, under their conditions. They are better capitalized. It's just, it doesn't matter how good Damos and Primal and Snort and Amethyst, it doesn't matter how good these clients get. They will never on their own beat Twitter or Facebook or Reddit or these companies. So the way I see this, it's necessary. It's necessary to build these things. It's important to build Twitter. It's important to build Facebook, but it's not sufficient. On their own, they're not going to win. And this is the same slide, very professional. Okay, so the running towards.
Wait,
is
Pablo,
building
your
this.
microphone is having a little bit of a noise
Oh, really?
interference, maybe just like a
I
little
think
bit.
I just touched the cable. Is it good now?
No, not yet. Or it might just. Oh, there now. It's much better.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Ah.
Okay, so the running towards is building the stuff that was not possible before Nostr. And there's just so much stuff that was not possible before Nostr. And when we build so in that direction, we're defining our own game. We are choosing the playing field, and we are choosing a playing field where in which Twitter and Facebook and these massive companies, the big tech companies, they cannot play at this game. They simply cannot play at this game. And the way I see it is that Nostr acts as a glue. So the protocol itself acts as the glue, keeping a bunch of disparate use cases working well together. If we assemble the pieces correctly, they can work well together. So before we move into the Nostr glue part, one thing that I wanted to mention is that the way I see it is we can, when we build stuff in the micro apps ecosystem, it allows us for experimentation. It allows us to really go long tail. It allows us to a developer to create a client with whatever features. Maybe it is a micro blogging client, maybe it is a long form client, maybe it is like an eBay competitor or a Craigslist or something like that. But you can build an experience that is appealing to a very small subset of very passionate users. Whereas before, Facebook and Twitter and these companies, they must build products that are universal. They must build a product that works for literally billions and billions of people. So they cannot. The example that I always like pointing to is on Osendai, which is this client that Arkinox has been working on, which is a completely different experience. It's not for me because it's for gamers, and I'm not a gamer, but it's a completely different way of experiencing microblogging. And it's so weird that I think very few people would be passionate about such a client. But I think a lot of people, like some people, would be very passionate about that client. For some people, on Osendai would be the best microblogging client that there can possibly be. And that is only possible because Nostr is acting as a glue, tying together all these disparate use cases and disparate experiences. Because if Onosendai were to try to create its own network effects, if there are only, say, 10,000 people in the whole world who would find such an experience appealing, then there is no way that Onosendai would not always feel like a ghost town. So thinking about Nostr as a glue for these different use cases and different experiences is absolutely transformative. And there is I looked up the definition of mediocre, and it's having no peculiar or outstanding features, which I think it perfectly encapsulates what something like Facebook or Twitter is. They must play a conservative game, because once you have billions of users, you cannot alienate all those users by building something like on a Sendai. It simply cannot happen. And just that, like Arkinox built on a Sendai, we can build hundreds, thousands of different clients that have completely novel ways of interacting with data. So the other idea that I had is for developers is the how we build, because given that how the protocol works, there are many different ways in which we can build application. Particularly the fact that we can build micro apps is a novel idea. That with Twitter, you cannot really build a micro app with Twitter. You could sort of try, but the fact that it's permissioned, the fact that there is an API key, means that you cannot really have a long-term view with regards to building a micro app. And we've seen all the micro apps on Reddit and Twitter and Facebook getting rugged over the years. So how we build it. There are a lot of design decisions within Nostr that, depending on how we build, can reinforce decentralization or can reinforce centralization. There are many such
Pablo, this
such
is
ideas. But
against the fangs, right? Like the whole thing is that we want to build against the fangs and work on that. And just sorry for the interruption. They say the audio is still pretty bad. So do you want to connect and
Really?
disconnect your mic, your earphones?
yeah,
See if
yeah,
that helps.
absolutely.
Super
Yeah,
noisy
absolutely.
audio.
I wonder.
Because it was perfect earlier, but I don't know why it's giving that static. It's like static. Yeah, I think you turned off your audio now.
Oh yeah, it muted
Okay,
me. Is that?
perfect. Now you sound incredibly much better.
Oh, so I was on the microphone of the headphones apparently.
Ah,
Not this
we got
microphone.
you now. Yay. Okay, I'm going to turn off my mic.
Okay, well, that's this should be much better then. Okay, so yeah, to your question, this is yeah, this is against the fangs. So my like the whole point is we can play a game, we can play fangs games, we can play the Facebook, the Apple, the Amazon, we can play their game, or we can play our own game and force them to play in our court. And this sounds ludicrous. Like, how can we force Apple and Amazon and whatever, Facebook, to play our game? But the fact, and this is something that in that podcast that you linked to, Marina, that you reposted last night, is a podcast that we recorded in Nostrica back in March. And what I was saying is that in Nostr, the network effects compound across all the different use cases. So the network effects of the microblogging, it gets amplified by the network effects of the music clients, and amplified by the network effects of the Medium, the long form clients, and amplified by the shopping clients. Every client that compels someone to come into Nostr, to create a keeper, to go through all these hurdles of keeper management and relays and all these things, which do have that do create friction. These different use cases, once we bring someone and they find that their data goes from one place to another, I always mention this liquidity of the data, that it's not siloed, it's not contained in a bucket, in an Amazon bucket or in a YouTube bucket. It just goes from one place to another and it mixes with all the other data. It sounds radical, but this compounding in some time, it is absolutely radical, because Nostr is so minuscule. It's so minuscule, but it kind of goes back to what Chef Booth wrote in The Price of Tomorrow, with the folding of the pieces of paper, that in what I think it was like 44 or 40 something folds of a piece of paper, you would get to the moon, or do you get to the sun, or something like that. It sounds so radical that if you fold a paper enough time, and if you were strong enough and had enough paper, you would be able to get to the sun just by folding a piece of paper. But this is the case with these exponential curves, right? And I think Nostr can create it. We're not there yet, like nowhere near there yet. But this compounding of the use cases can create these forces. And that's a way in which we can create this field where these fangs simply cannot compete. But
I'm on
it's
your camp with
absolute.
this concept because I know that a lot of people talk about censorship resistance and that's why they're on Nostr. But I like what you use, which is optionality and the fluidity. I think that's a way better, and also it'll attract more people to the platform if we explain it in that way. Your optionality word is key to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think censorship resistance for most people is a problem to fix in Nostr. Most people will not be compelled to come to Nostr because of censorship resistance. They will come to Nostr and say, "Oh yes, but how do we do moderation? How do we stop Nazis and stuff like that?" So that is not a selling pitch, and that is not even my main problem with the censorship resistance pitch. My main problem, I started writing a few notes about this in the past few days. My main problem with that idea is that you're defining yourself, or you're defining Nostr via negativa. You're defining Nostr by what it's not. It's a protocol where you're not going to be censored, a protocol where you're not going to be shadow banned. It's a protocol. It's like defining. I use this analogy. I don't know if it lands, but it's like defining your spouse because she's not cheating on you. Don't you have something better to say about your spouse? Oh, she doesn't cheat on me. Well, maybe there are some positive characteristics instead of the lack of negative characteristics. And I think there are so many amazing positive characteristics on Nostr that zeroing on the lack of negatives, it's absolutely selling short what we're building. It's so unappealing saying that you are not going to abuse your users. There are so many good things that you can say about Nostr. so I think it's much better to just focus on that. So yeah, with regards to this, like all these hinges on the fact that we can build Nostr in a way that it works decentralized. If like at the moment, I don't think that Nostr is sufficiently decentralized, and the reason why I started building NDK is because I saw the trend. I noticed what building a client felt like. The economics of building a client, the choices. Like if you write a client and you just hard code, and actually that's the first point. If you just hard code that you for your client to connect to the Damos relay and to the Snort relay, then your client is just probably going to work just fine. Like that's enough to get a client that will see pretty much all nodes, and that is extremely problematic because from a developer standpoint, you would say, why am I going to build all this UI to manage the user's relays and connect to these and handle these connecting relays and handle this and handle that, when I can fix this, like I can just have something working by just writing relay.demos.io and relay.snort.social and just be done with it. The economics as a developer, they make sense. That there is an incentive to just hard code what you know it's going to work. But long term, you're just digging a grave for yourself and everybody. Just hard coding relays just leads to centralization. So as developers, especially at these early stages, we must think like Nostr to me is extremely vulnerable to capture and extremely vulnerable to being killed. So at this stage, developers, we must think about decentralization, and we must prioritize building the culture and the resilience of creating decentralization on the different design choices that we make as developers. The other one is something that I talked about with Carnage today, and that's why it's here, because it was fresh in my mind. But we should avoid hard coding supporting applications. Like when we build micro apps that are not going to implement every feature of Nostr under the sun, we should not say, oh, you want to edit your profile, go to, snort.social / your pub key or settings or whatever. Because this it creates centralizing force. So I wrote NIP 89 like, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago or so, and the idea is that NIP 89 allows a developer to discover functionality, to discover, okay, which is a music client. So Snort or Amethyst or Damos, they do not have to hard code a link to Wavelake or to whatever. They can discover the applications. They can discover what users are using the different applications, so they can recommend based on your social graph and stuff like that. So we should keep in mind that we should stop, because there is still a very ingrained culture of taking the shortcut of hard coding these applications. And we are still at the point where we can reverse this trend of just hard coding things. But in my mind, linking to other applications, just like with a URL, is as bad as hard coding the relay. It's pretty much, it's kind of the same thing. And yeah, so if you need to link to explicit applications like on a URL, at least use nshap.me, which has a multiplexer into sending you to different applications, so you can see, oh, this is a long form. Go to Blogstack, or go to Yakahino, or go to Avla.news, or go to Highlighter, or go to I think Oracle as well. So this is very important. And the other is to embrace composability. Like when you create applications, and this is especially true for non-kind one centric, so not micro-blogging applications, you should embrace composability, because I think composability is super cool in Nostr, regardless of what F7z says. And NIP 31 and NIP 89. NIP 31 is a NIP that that F7z wrote, which basically says, gives applications an idea. It's like an alt tag. It's actually literally an alt tag. It describes what an event is. So, for example, if Snort doesn't know what an event kind 9802, which is highlight, they don't just show you, oh, I don't know what this is. They just show you a description, a text description describing what the event is. And with NIP 89, you can even just click on the event, and it will send you to an application that handles that kind. All of that without Snort ever knowing, or Amethyst, or like any of the clients knowing exactly what the hell that 9802 event kind was. And the other one is just something that I think it's not particular to developers or to Nostr, is knowing what game you're playing. I think most of like the best advice in life is just realizing what game you're playing. If you know what game you're playing, you'll be 80% there. But most people don't realize what game they're playing throughout life. And in this sense, it means know what the hell your application is and build that. You don't have to build every single feature that is possible on Nostr. Just avoid scope creep and embrace that Nostr allows you to go from one micro app to another micro app very easily. And examples are kind3.xyz, Pinster, Lister, sublife.lol. These are applications that are very specific to one use case, and they don't try to be the Swiss Army knife that will do absolutely everything, which is kind of in contrast to Amethyst. Amethyst is a little bit like an application that tries to do everything, and no matter how much of a superhuman is, Vitor is not going to be able to implement every single NIP, every single use case. But yeah, if you design an application that does one thing and does it really well, I think Pinster and Lister in this case are really good examples, because they are applications with a lot of users, and people they understand very well what they can do with them, and they are not requesting like these really scope creepy functionalities from the developers. So
What
I
is
think
Pinster
that's
and Lister? What do they do? What is it?
a Pinster is sort of like a Pinterest. I think that's where the name comes from. But they're basically like list management applications, and yeah, you can just basically group things. So, for example, if you want to keep your node bookmarks or stuff like that, you can use either of these applications to, yeah, like you want to bookmark I don't know, a user because you like what they say. So for example, instead of following someone, you might add someone to your whatever artist list, and then you can go to the artist list on Lister, and you can see a feed of the people that you've categorized as artists. So yeah, I think these are very cool functionalities, and you can build a product around them, and it's just focus on building that functionality. Don't try to be an end all be all application every time. And yeah, a bit about NIPs. I don't know if this is the right audience or not, but this is usually something that when I talk to developers, it comes it comes up a lot because I've written a lot of NIPs, and I've seen I've read also a lot of NIPs, so I've seen a lot of different issues. There is a temptation to just put a bunch of payload data on the content and just put it as a JSON, stringify it, and put it on the content. 9 out of 10 times, it's the wrong idea. It's like the old paradigm of thinking on data modeling. Usually, if you're doing that, that's a sign that 3 steps before getting to I'm just going to put JSON on the content, you made a design mistake. Yeah, there was an error on how to approach thinking about data modeling on Nostr. So yeah, that's it's something I kind of hate JSON in content, and I think it's almost always a mistake. There are very few exceptions, even the ones that we currently have. Yeah, like profile data, for example. I think it's a total mistake. Another one is write implementation first and the spec later. To me, this is an obvious one, but I've seen so many people that they go and write the NIP first. They submit the PR to get the NIP merged, and then they write an implementation. To me, this always is a mistake. You should always write at least one implementation. See how it feels, because very likely you'll make changes to the way you want to interact with the data once you write an implementation, and then you can write the spec later. And obviously, assume broken implementations. There is a lot of we should prevent people from publishing events like this because it's going to break my client. Just assume that someone is going to break your NIP. So work around that. Don't expect relays to serve you well-formed data or valid data even. So yeah, I think that's also important. And if you submit a NIP, expect bike shedding. So keep your NIPs. Don't go too verbose on your NIPs, as I've done in the past. And yeah, expect a lot of bike shedding. Maybe like 1%.
Can you translate what that means? Sorry.
Bike shedding?
What is bike shedding? And also check your microphone again.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Really? Okay.
It's giving static again. A little bit.
Let me check to see if we are on the right one. Yeah, I am on the right one this time.
It's just a little bit of static. It's not as bad as before, but I do.
That's weird.
Figured
it's an expensive microphone. It costed like $60, but.
Okay, so bike shedding, what does it mean?
Yeah, so bike shedding is a popular. I guess it's an engineering term, but it's basically discussing the minutia to death. Basically, it's It's like on Bitcoin discussing activation. Well, actually, activation is kind of important. But
the color of the
but
shed,
yeah, it's discussing
right?
like
The concept about the color of the shed, of the bike shed.
I
Is that what it was about?
I actually don't know where it comes from. I think shed is like a place where you put things, and bike
Yes,
shed
but
is
they
I
were
don't know.
like saying how it. Yeah, I remember.
But
It was about.
conceptually, it's just discussing like the minutia, irrelevant details.
Yes.
If
Yes.
you put a bunch of examples and a bunch of like super detailed, very verbose nips, there's going to be a lot of points where people are going to get derailed in it's just irrelevant conversations. So just keep your nips. If you look at the early nips, they are very, very, very short. NIP 01
Yes.
even used to be way shorter. Then a bunch of nips got merged into NIP 01. But NIP 03, for example, is super short. NIP 31 is like 3 paragraphs. Just like keep it to a minimum. Don't create like a massive crazy complexity NIP. Because that's usually not going to work. It's kind of against the ethos a little bit of Nostr. Like you want things to be easy to understand, not have a lot of ambiguity with regards to implementation. So yeah, keeping in mind that once you submit something, it's going to be it's going to be a little bit painful with regards to merging. If it's too ambiguous or long, then it's good to know that what to expect. And that's it. That's the end of the presentation.
Thank you, Pablo.
How was that?
Perfect. So again, you did not clarify what was NIP 26.
Oh yeah, NIP 26. Oh man, I could talk for hours on this. So back in the day, we had the NIP 26 wars, in which there was a faction of which I was a proud member. I actually wrote a website defending NIP 26. And Fiat Jeff was a stark enemy on the NIP 26 wars. So NIP 26 briefly is a way to delegate keys. It's like the holy grail, like key delegation.
We needed that in both funds, so I was a very big.
So that's the thing. Like it's a very important functionality. It's just NIP 26 made a bunch of trade-offs that in a way I think if it would have been adopted, I think it would have killed Nostr. Because it has incredibly strong centralizing forces. The more it's because it's a very compelling functionality, right? It's obviously very important. Are we live?
Yes, we're good. You just froze for a second, but you're good. Yeah.
So I was saying that it's a very compelling, right? Like key delegation is super compelling. It's obvious. So it would make sense for a lot of people to use NIP 26. The more people use NIP 26, the more expensive it is to run a relay. The more expensive it is to run your client locally. The more checking there is. And even NIP 26 didn't take key delegation to its conclusion. The conclusion of doing NIP 26 was being able to scope the use of the delegation token. The more you thought about how to fix the scoping of the delegation token, the increasing complexity of running the relay. So it's like two exponentials working against each other with regards to the cost of running a relay and the complexity of running this stuff. So overall it increases the cost of everything, the complexity of everything. So yeah, NIP 26. That's why I actually talked with Fiat Jeff and he convinced me that it was wrong. I saw the light and I changed my mind. That's why I have this the former NIP 26 apology.
Wait, so I listened to one of the podcasts that you gave recently, and one of the things that I really liked was they asked you about monetizing and monetization and what happens in Nostr and are we going to be able to survive? And I really liked the answer you gave regarding like, look, I'm here to build everything possible and to decentralize this and to learn as much as possible before it explodes, because I'm convinced it's going to explode. And I think that part of my job is being here early to shape it. And even I'm not a developer personally, but I do agree. I wanted to be in there from the beginning to, be a female voice in the space, if you will. Like there are ways that you can add value and post. And I mean, I've been on Nostr Report a few times too. It kind of feels cool to be part of that beginning. And also, as you say, to shape it, capture the eyeballs, but in a good way. Could you expand on why you're here, why you've built over 70% of the nips and the apps and everything? Like what should compel others to do what you've done and go all in on Nostr?
Yeah, absolutely. I think then just that's why I put the how to contribute to Nostr. You being there, bring your energy. That's why I put it at first, because I think it's super important. It's like the dent that we're making nowadays, like establishing, because culture has a lot of momentum. It's what I think. I don't know if we were recording when we were talking about this, but culture has so much momentum. What did Peter Drucker used to say? Something like culture eats strategy for lunch. Like the culture, it's very hard to change, and it leads on how things progress over time. I mean, like look at BBS, like how the early internet, it had such a strong momentum that it defined how GeoCities evolved. It's absolute insanity that something that happened in the 80s was shaping something that was happening in the early 2000s, and like BBS had like what, maybe 5,000 or 10,000 users or something like that. But it shaped this culture of the early hackers. Like the BBS culture got absolutely destroyed by the onslaught of that came afterwards. But regardless, it's outstanding that such a small number of people were able to shape how the early internet worked. So yeah, I think there's so many opportunities to like have a super significant impact on the future that we're building. It's I don't know. To me, it's like I could not be doing something better with my time.
Wait, my audio. I'm gonna see if people have questions here on the side. How many minutes do you have left with us before you have to go?
Probably like 15 minutes or 20 minutes or something.
Nice. Okay. So while I let a few of these questions come up on the screen, I did want to also say, going on to your point about this, everybody has, I've heard it say, like, we're all Homer Simpson, right? Once you join one bank, you never leave. Once you join an application, you never leave. It's really hard to change people's way of thinking and seeing, and I think that's to your point. And then, so I wanted to ask you, I didn't even know what was value for value. I've been hearing it forever in the space, value for value. And now I understand, like with streaming and giving them zaps and you can put it on Fountain and press a certain section where you really found value, and then the user and people can understand it. And my question to you with value for value is, how do we not game the system, right? Because currently somebody could go and like ping it 20,000 times and, pretend that it is a very popular video. Or also the fact that people stop posting. Like I used to be posting on Nostr and I would get 10 likes and now I get 2. And I don't necessarily think it's the quality of the content. It's just people already expect you to post versus, so how do you keep people engaged and paying, or keeping the zaps going with the value for value system, for example, or gaming the system? Did we lose you? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I lost you there for like 15 seconds.
Oh, How do you stop gaming the system in value for value or apathy, user apathy?
I think the Patreon model is the model that works. I'm not so sure that. Yeah, Patreon.com.
Okay.
It's so we were discussing recently with a bunch of the Nostr developers about this, and I'm still unsure. I'm not convinced about the value for value model. At least not in its current understanding. I think that whole field is basically unexplored territory. I don't even think that we are exploring that way because we've arrived to value for value as a locked concept, and value for value equals streaming sets, whatever that means. And I think that that concept should not be like ossified basically or hardened yet. I think there are different ways. I think regardless of Nostr, regardless of Bitcoin, regardless of like podcasting 2.0 and whatever, I think content production is changing across everything, and you can even see that with Spotify. You can see it with Netflix. You can see that the way that bands and music production used to be monetized. Jesus. Are we back? Jesus, I don't know what the hell is going on with the connection.
It's just your microphone that's not great. But we do have 2 questions. I can read them to you. I'm not a dev. Can I set up a content project exclusive on Nostr? And another one, how do you suggest approaching Nostr to develop an app in the most efficient way and to make the most of a protocol potential? That's like, how do we orange pill everybody or purple pill them? Pablo, what's the secret to your sauce?
The secret is micros, for sure. Build something that is compelling enough for someone to endure the pain of learning key management. There are a bunch of use cases that are waiting to be implemented. I mean, infinite number of use cases that are waiting to be implemented in a way that because they are on Nostr, they are on themselves better. And then the economics of the interoperability come later, because interoperability, people don't understand what the hell that means. They don't see.
It's my favorite word. I like live and love. I lived in like 5 different countries, so to me, that whole concept is the most fabulous thing about Nostr.
but it's really hard to grasp, right? Like it's not. Oh, I'm going to be able to earn more money. Are going to be able to get more fans. It's not something that you connect with easily, right?
But it's that fluidity that you mentioned.
It's got to be something. I don't know if this is recording.
It's fine. It's fine. You're good.
We back? Jesus.
We got you. No, we have not lost you. Don't worry.
Really? Okay, because my ping is working all the time, but every few minutes you should freeze. I don't know. Okay, like my ping, I have not lost a single time. Okay. So yeah, interoperability is something that is hard to compare to. It's not something that why people would come to the protocol basically. But there are so many, like everything can be built, and just find something that just go to producthunt.com and find something like, oh, this is a good idea. Like I literally do that. I go to Product Hunt and it's like, oh, okay, that's a good idea. I'm gonna take it.
In originality, Pablo, have you seen anything that you think is really original? Because I think right now, I think you're right. We go doing like, okay, a copy of this and a copy of that. There is a part of the human brain that needs the old to connect to the new. But have you seen anything where you're like, oh, I mean, obviously, besides Nostr itself, is there anything on Nostr that you think, wow, that's pretty cool, that's different, that is actually original instead of a copy of Twitter or a copy of whatever it may be? Have you seen a few projects or people or builders that are going out there and beyond Product Hunt, and it's exciting to you?
I mean, I've seen a bunch. The one that always comes to mind is the one I mentioned before, Archinox, with Onosenda. But even
The metaverse.
even
I loved it too.
the
I
metaverse
agree.
thing, yeah. I mean, I hate the metaverse. I think the concept is disgusting. But I like the execution is really amazing.
Yeah, I could imagine it when it was written. I could imagine it for the first time, and in Nostr, which was the cool part.
Yeah, absolutely. The stuff that G Sovereignty is working on, for example, with Nos Rocket, if he ever finishes it, I know he's working on the 5th rewrite.
Can you type it so that we know who you're talking about because of the static?
Let's see. Oh, it says that. Okay, I'm gonna put it on the private chat.
Yeah, type the things that you're mentioning so we can remember them.
I think it's nosrocket.org or something like that, or .com maybe. Yeah, something else. He's working on probably the 5th or 6th complete refactor and re-architecture from scratch. But it's probably a dumb idea, even, but at least it's novel. But yeah, there's a bunch of very novel. Very interesting and new ideas, like the whole Bitcoin transaction collaboration, for example. I think it's kind of cool to a degree. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, nothing right now comes to mind. Like all the stuff that comes to mind is the stuff that I'm working on. Like Highlighter, for example. Like Highlighter is basically a dumping ground of ideas that I have. Like DVMs, the data vending machines is a whole broad area of exploration of something that was simply not possible before Nostr, and now this multicast way of doing protocol design.
Wait, we had Collider. How is Highlighter different? I'm sorry because I'm not.
No. Collider.
Exactly, but that's what I think when I think about it.
It's not mine.
No, I know. Collider is a bolt-on project. So that's why my question is Highlighter.
I actually had a call with I don't know when,
Jonas.
like 2 months ago or something like that, and we were talking about collaborating because we were talking about the vision and stuff like that, and we realized that it was very much trending towards the same direction. But yeah, it's like novel ways of doing things that were not possible before. So for example, like before, something like Highlighter would be Readwise, which is really cool, and I was a user of Readwise for many years. But it lacks the very important features that Nostr gives you for free. And no matter how good the product is, like the Readwise product, or no matter how good the Goodreads.com product is, it just lacks the stuff that it will never be able to get. So in Highlighter, I can reveal this stuff in ways that can become 10x, 100x better. And that's how you clear this barrier of, no one is going to create a key pair to use this. To use this. Well, this product on itself is compelling enough. It's so much better enough that it can compel people to create key pairs and key management.
And remember their keys and manage them, like you said, right?
Yeah, and we're gonna have key revolution very soon.
Hey, I'm holding you to that. Before Tokyo.
I already wrote the name. I was talking with Fiat Chef earlier today. We were laughing at how stupid my name is. But it feels so
simple.
It's so simple. It's beyond. I was talking about with MBK on this, and he told me. No, he said this about a different thing, but yeah, it's like very young. It's like written by someone that is like 40 points IQ. So it's impossible to mess up. It's very flexible. It's very simple. Like anyone can implement it. It's gonna be. I think it's going to create a new set of applications that will allow you to like assist you with key rotation. It's not even key rotation because it's like not cryptographic whatsoever. I stay clear of like hierarchical HD keys. I stay clear like of everything that will introduce a bunch of complexity. But yeah, we'll get there.
Well, I think that the only thing that I really wish people could fix, but it's unrelated to Nostr, is how they describe themselves. Like, I don't care what name you use, but I do struggle with figuring out who to follow or what to do sometimes, and because they just say 2 words, and I'm like, okay, that really doesn't help me. You have to scroll, see their feed, but even then it's kind of hard. So, but I guess that's marketing and branding. It's not related to Nostr. We cannot blame Nostr for that. Yeah, I don't care what name you use.
Yeah, in a way, not Nostr, but I think freedom technologies in general will trend towards fixing that kind of thing. Because what you said, it's marketing, it's branding, it's all stuff that fits within entrepreneurship in a way, and it's all things that usually they don't go hand in hand with education. Which education goes hand in hand with find a way to write a good resume, get a good job, stuff like that pushes you to be an employee. It doesn't push you to find a way of constructing compelling narratives. And actually, the stuff that we're working on with sovereign engineering in your data, the stuff that I'm working on with Gigi, like finding ways of helping entrepreneurs and helping especially engineers with storytelling. Narrative, like construct a compelling narrative arc. What is your product? Why are you? What's at the root of this product? Okay, it's cool. Okay, whatever. Okay, why? Like, why would anyone care?
That is precisely what I didn't hear. Why are you building it? It's cool.
Oh, absolutely. That's the first answer, right? But if you start digging and we're trying to work with interesting people that have a lot to say about this type of storytelling, you can build, you can find why you're passionate about something and express it, which is something that pretty much every single engineer struggles with. Is you're passionate about something, you have no idea why you're passionate about that thing, but if you can find your voice, you can communicate that passion more in a more compelling way. But branding and find a name that is more more interesting, that, like you said, Bitcoin, whatever. I think it goes it can go a long way.
Well, thank you for that. That is actually one of the things that we do with Bolt Fun. I and a couple of other people give pitch lessons or pitch office hours, if you will. And so people can book a time with us and we go through those. There's this whole concept called 5 whys. Why are you building it? Why does it matter? What is the problem? There's several different questions that you ask. And also, as you say, what problem are you solving to begin with? And why are you capable to build it? And why is it relevant now, for example? Why do we need it now? So those are some of the questions that we work with the different builders on Bolt Fun. And we're going to be offering those pretty soon. So look up, pay attention. And also, if you need to ping Pablo, he's super amazing, always responding. So be aware that there's a huge network available for Nostr Asia and from Bolt Fun to help everybody build, moving forward. So follow us, follow Pablo, and keep building. And thank you, Pablo, for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Very nice having you, Marina. Having me here.
Un placer.
Yeah, I love it.
Hoy no te desconectes porque tenemos que subir el audio.
Yep, got it.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.